Light spoilers for Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order. I'm revealing different bits of gameplay from different planets, but I'm trying to avoid spoilers for the story and just providing some clips with vague context if characters pop up. So, I don't think if you've seen the trailers you're going to get anything spoiled beyond those trailers here, aside from levels, but you have been warned. And there also will be a very spoilery section later in the video, but I'm going to have a separate warning for that.
Cal Kestis.
We will always struggle. It's the choice to keep fighting that makes us who we are.
Jedi Fallen Order released at a key time for me in my love for Star Wars. It was a dark time for the franchise at the end of 2019. The Rise of Skywalker was a turd so stinky that it managed to unite Last Jedi lovers and haters, because pretty much everyone could agree that the movie was a rushed, nonsensical mess that desperately tried to please everyone with wafer-thin answers and Palpatine returning, somehow, via Fortnite. Jedi Fallen Order kept the magic alive for me at a time when the theatrical output was the most creatively bankrupt it had possibly ever been. I fell in love with not only Cal Kestis, but the entire Mantis gang from Cere to Grease to Merrin, and of course BD-1. BD-1 is so cute. BB-8 can go get thrown around by Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer for all I care. BD-1 supremacy. The exploration of key Star Wars planets, including one of my very favourites in Dathomir, kept me glued to my controller. The combat was tough but fair, and therefore immensely satisfying, evoking the style of Souls-like games combined with Uncharted-style traversal. Perhaps most of all, it truly gave me the feeling of being a Jedi in a way other games had not. Combat had always been done well before, but the ethics of the Jedi, the importance of defence as much as offence, and knowing when to lay down your weapon, made it feel like the ultimate Jedi simulator.
Is power the answer?
No.
So long as I was immersed in the world of Jedi Fallen Order, Rey being a Palpatine was like a distant fever dream. In truth, I'd wanted to do a big spread on Jedi Fallen Order for many years, but I'd never gotten around to it. That's on me. There's a whole lot of Star Wars games I love, from Battlefront to Bounty Hunter to The Force Unleashed to bloody Super Bombad Racing. Who remembers that game? But Jedi Fallen Order took the grand prize of being my very favourite Star Wars video game. Until now. Cut to 2023, and funnily enough, Respawn seem to be adept with their timing. After reigniting the spark with the first two seasons of The Mandalorian, the 1-2 punch of Boba Fett's colouring book and that show where Obi-Wan saved Leia twice with his baseball bat lightsaber, all but killed my patience. Andor was one of the best reviewed Disney-era Star Wars thingies, but simultaneously one of the least watched, and I wonder how many people, like myself, couldn't bring themselves to risk being burned again in spite of the very positive reviews. Disney can only slip on so many banana peels before the goodwill will dry up, Enter Jedi Survivor, the Star Wars story untethered by Disney's narrative pathways of the last 10 years. A game full of fresh characters, ideas and visuals, with action so frenetic and satisfying, it puts almost every live-action set piece of the era to shame. It's so damn fun that even the most jaded, unhappy Star Wars fan, i.e. me, can't help but be charmed by it. Jedi Survivor reminds me exactly what I love about this incredible galaxy far, far away, and what made me fall in love with it a long time ago. I said it would take something truly special to get me truly back on the Star Wars wagon a year ago, and Survivor is that experience. Thank the maker! Star Wars is finally undead to me. What did you think of Jedi Survivor? Is it the best Star Wars game ever? Let me know in the comments below. This game is kind of similar to God of War Ragnarok in that it feels very similar to the first game but gives you a polished and expanded version of it. In both instances the foundations were so strong that I welcome more hours of game time with new worlds to explore. This series didn't need a top to bottom rethink. The story is made more character focused than plot focused this time around, which is a wise move, as it gives us reasons to care without worrying about stepping on any continuity toes. Some of the dialogue is some of the best in the entire franchise. There's some really good conversations between some key characters here, and you really feel the heart and soul of this game. Cameron Monaghan is one of the best things to happen to Star Wars in years, and it's a joy to see him return as an older, wiser, more weathered Cal. Reuniting the cast of Fallen Order made me realise how much I'd miss these characters. Merrin becoming a staff-wielding, teleporting badass was a welcome addition, and a romantic connection with Cal was surprisingly heartfelt. Seeing Cere embrace her Jedi roots following the conclusion of the last game was satisfying, and Grease's role as the comic relief foil still slaps.
These nuts.
I don't want to go into the new characters too much, but what I will say is that the decision to have a High Republic Jedi Captain America into the present and discover that the Order has fallen to the Empire is an inspired idea. The Inquisitors of the first game were great, but I think the premise and surrounding ideas behind Jedi Survivor are more unique, more self-contained, and ultimately more interesting. Respawn listened to the feedback from the first game. Dismemberment is the biggest visible change to proceedings, and oh boy is it made swinging your sabres doubly satisfying. Combining that with the HUD colour on BD1 to indicate your health, and it seems like Cal is becoming Isaac Clarke. There's some cool new stances, including a crossguard that acts like the game's equivalent of a broadsword, and a lightsaber gun combo, although I avoided that like the plague. No judgment, I'm sure it handles well, but it just feels so wrong to me.
Don't say it.
Don't you say so uncivilized.
Come on!
The customization options are very nice. I didn't realise everybody hated the poncho from the first game so much. I actually really liked it. The look suited Cal, and it made him look unique amongst the pantheon of Jedi. That being said, the expanded options in Survivor are a really welcome addition, and I love that everyone's Cal now has a completely different vibe. I ended up going with a long-haired but clean-shaven look. Not sure if the beard suits Cal just yet, but the flowing locks are very Star Wars. However, having said that, when I recorded some of the gameplay for this video, I did cave and use the beard. It does look pretty sweet, what am I on about? Traversal has been expanded with creatures to ride and an Arkham grapple hook. The climbing was really fun already, so I didn't personally need a whole lot more there, but it's nice. I loved exploring Koba and Jeddah, filled with tons of things to do and vicious enemies begging for a taste from the business end of my saber. But my absolute biased favourite to explore was the Big C, Coruscant. Coruscant was done so dirty from the start of the Disney era, and Jedi Survivor has just made me so happy with its inclusion. It's been a mainstay of the franchise ever since the Thrawn trilogy. It's basically fucking Blade Runner world inside of Star Wars. It's the central hub of all the political dealings, the criminal element, it's the linchpin of the Star Wars world as far as planets go, it's home to the Jedi Temple, but because JJ has a hard-on for all things original trilogy, it was shunned in The Force Awakens and never popped up once in the entire sequel run. That is crazy to me, and it's only made worse by the fact that it was going to be the centrepiece of Colin Trevorrow's cancelled Duel of the Fates. Ending the Skywalker saga there would have made so much sense, and it still irks me to this day how much Coruscant has been pushed to the side since 2015. This year seems to be something of a comeback for the location, as it was featured in The Mandalorian, and now a stunning opening set piece for Cal's journey. I could have done with even more of this planet, but just getting it playable in any form is nothing short of amazing. As soon as I was able to go back there, I fired up the Mantis. Running around the lower levels of Coruscant in this game makes it feel like a bit of a karmic payoff to the 1313 game we never got, in which case Star Wars has been doing Coruscant dirty for at least 10 years. I said light spoilers, but I just want to gush over this one spoilery thing, an immensely spoilery thing. So here's a warning, if you went to go in completely blind with the game, 3, 2, 1, Boba Fett. Boba freaking Fett, and he's not some weirdly moral character who takes his helmet off all the time and gets his ass handed to him. No, Respawn utilises the bounty hunter better here than across the whole of his much maligned bookie wook. When Star Wars drowns in intertextual moments and gloop shitos, the thrill of legacy characters wane. When a series like Jedi takes the time to craft new characters in Cal, Grease, Seer, Merrin and more, it makes the appearance of a legend like Fett actually mean something. I jumped for joy seeing him on screen, and I haven't had a moment of sheer unadulterated fanboy bliss like that in a long time. The lesson is clear. Put in the work with your new characters and make the cameos special because they are rare. Boba's role also feels like a 13-year-long payoff to his inadequate appearance in The Force Unleashed 2, another Jedi action game which saw the bounty hunter cameo. That game was a famously rushed production, and it was weird and frustrating to find that Fett was on your case in that game, yet the player never came to blows with them. Whilst there's no boss fight to be had here either, his appearance makes a lot more sense, and his tumultuous alliance with Cal is a brief but cool moment that perfectly captures the essence of the character and his allegiances in this galaxy far, far away. Okay, maybe one more big spoilery thing because it's just too good not to talk about. One of the biggest problems with Star Wars is justifying the effectiveness of characters outside the Skywalker contingent, and so having everything funnel into this much smaller, more character-driven finale really was a masterstroke. I'm so glad they got Vader and the Empire out of the way through Seer's story, because it meant you got to have your cake and eat it too. R.I.P. Seer, by the way. Bode looked like the new best friend buddy character. He had a jetpack. I was honestly like, whatever. We already got a bunch of great crew members in the first game already, so I wasn't really needing more. I wasn't unopposed to new crew members, of course, just not particularly excited. It wasn't what was drawing me into the game the most. Well, I couldn't have been more freaking wrong about this character and his place in Jedi Survivor. When he ignited that lightsaber, killed Cordova, and revealed that he was Force sensitive, I couldn't believe it. I love the idea of Bode being the anti-Inquisitor. Where the Inquisitors strut around in matching fascistic black outfits, this Imperial contingent tries a more subtle approach. Dress up your Jedi Hunters as regular people, embed them within a group, get them to earn the trust of those people, and then destroy them. I love that the game sends you down this Tanalorr rabbit hole, turning you into Jedi Nathan Drake. There's this whole deal going on with a High Republic Jedi discussed with the state of this Empire-run galaxy. All of that is driving you down one path, but really, this whole game is about the dynamic between two friends. I've said a million times on this channel that the problem with doing the villain behind the villain is never the fact that it subverts what you expected. The problem comes when the second villain doesn't live up to the first. Ben Kingsley in Iron Man 3 is very engaging, but Guy Pearce takes over and is given a wafer-thin motivation to work with. That isn't the case here. Dagan Gera is great, but Bode is even more interesting. And his effect on Cal has more weight. I love that the biggest reveal in the whole game isn't Vader or Boba Fett, the kind of moment that movies champion, but simply discovering something crucial about a new character's backstory. When the Senator talks about his reasons for caving to the Empire in the opening Coruscant sequence, he also spells out up front why Bode will betray Cal.
Why fight when you can't win? Surrender tastes bitter at first, Cal, but sweetens with time.
You fight alongside this guy, he's really useful in combat, and that helps you warm to him. Plus, seeing him zip around in his jetpack in real time never gets old. He joins the other key characters on the ship, and he has more of a presence in the game than Dagan Gera ever does because he's an ally. This is the first legitimate Star Wars twist in years that actually surprised me. And it surprised me because it was everything to do with character and nothing to do with lore or franchise interconnectivity. The brothers to enemies story between Cal and Bode is fantastically realised and doesn't lean on any intertextual references. Respawn just set out to tell a human story of these characters, and it worked. After Bode's betrayal, you briefly wonder if his daughter is even a real person, but then we meet Cutter and it adds an even more heartbreaking dynamic to the story. Bode wasn't lying about everything, and it seems that he might have genuinely switched sides had Cal not decided Tanalorr should serve others before themselves. Having Carter travelling with you now, and Cal's fate skewing towards the dark side more than ever, leaves us with lasting changes to the status quo going into the next game. By the way, I didn't know I needed Darkside Cal, but it really worked here precisely because you feel the sting of that betrayal. By the end of the game, it makes so much sense to use the blaster stance. I know I dissed it earlier, it was something I was initially hesitant to use, but much like Cal, you begin to buy into it because of Bode. After getting to grips with that stance, you then have it used against you. Little did we know that Bode would use a blaster lightsaber combo on you in the final battle. Star Wars video games have unwittingly become exactly what I want from the franchise. Things could change, but the recent movies announced don't interest me at all. Damon Lindelof's idea for an elderly Rey teaching a new cast of characters sounded cool, but now it's been supplanted with what is essentially Episode 10 in disguise. I don't know, it seems too soon for that, and I think you'd have had more wiggle room down the road to tell adult Rey stories, like what they've done with The Mandalorian filling in the post-Episode 6 era following the sequels. The Mandoverse movie could be cool, but selling it as an Avengers-style team-up with all of the streaming shows feels like a calculated franchise move, and I wonder how well it will work as its own expression given that it will essentially be a theatrical season finale. I've never seen a James Mangold movie I didn't like, although next week might change that, but the premise for his movie is easily the least interesting one for me.
This is boring.
I don't much want to see a supposed biblical epic featuring the first Jedi discovering the Force. I think that kind of lore should be better left unshown. This project annoys me the most because Mangold is a great get, and I wish he was attached to the other two film ideas, to be honest. The place I want to be with Star Wars right now is the world of Survivor. I want to spend time with these characters, experiencing its interactive action and feeling the magic that has been seeping out of the live action efforts year after year. Video gaming is the perfect place for franchises right now. That interactivity adds a new dimension where things can otherwise be stale. I also think in general video games are becoming the place for well-intentioned pacing over some forms of film and TV. Dexter Fletcher, an actor turned director who's made some great stuff, recently spoke about how his newest direct-to-streaming movie, Ghosted, had to be chopped stocked up heavily in its opening scenes because Apple were worried viewers would switch off.
You can't make a film for streaming the same way you make a theatrical. You can't. You know, in the beginning of Ghosted, I really loved a long opening sequence, and I brought it to the studio and the producers, and they were like, and they said you can't, because if it goes on and something doesn't happen in the first 30 seconds, we know the data shows that people will just turn off.
Streaming seems to be leaning further and further towards viewer retention concerns, making movies more like YouTube videos. Yuck. Compare that to the moody dialogue-free opening moments of Jedi Survivor and the moody dialogue-free closing moments of Jedi Survivor. Video games have to hold your attention because you might be required to complete an action. They don't have to worry about viewer retention because your eyes are firmly placed on the screen, and it means that we get a more exciting opening that builds to an action-packed crescendo, better than big-budget movies starring Chris Evans and Ana de Armas. No matter what happens with Star Wars in a live-action space, the future of Star Wars in video games seems unbelievably bright. With an effortlessly likeable hero in Cal Kestis, a fully realised array of worlds to explore, and lightsaber combat so satisfying, Jedi Survivor is nothing short of a triumph. After basically a year and a day of being so tapped out by Disney Plus I saw Star Wars as dead, Jedi Survivor has given me enough of a reason to remember the magic still exists if you know where to look. And yes, I will finally watch Andor now. To everyone who has asked me to get back into the wars over the past year and have asked me to do a video on Andor, you can thank Jedi Survivor.
I'll do it myself.
A big thank you to my full fat tier patron, Dr. Chike, and Nathan Shaw. If you'd like to donate money to my Patreon, you can find me at patreon.com/fullfatvideos. If you'd like to find me on Instagram, you can find me at full_fat_videos. And if you'd like to find me on Twitter, you can find me at fullfatvideos.